Welcome to the subject selection evening for Year 10 students who are entering Year 11 in 2021. I'm Dr. Darryl Nelson. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Academic Development at Snowy Mountains Grammar School, and I will be taking you through a lot of information. If you weren't at the webinar, you'll be watching this afterwards. Please go and grab a cup of tea and a biscuit or two, because there is a lot of information here. It should take about 35 or 40 minutes to go through, but all of the information is essential for Year 10 students going into Year 11. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the high school certificate, and some things that you may already know about the high school certificate. It is still the highest educational award that you can gain in New South Wales schools. It's been in place for a very long time. It's internationally recognised. It provides you a strong foundation for the future because it is a lot of work and it's very character building, I would say. It's standards based, so the results that you achieve in each of the courses that you undertake are based on standards that you have demonstrated within those courses. There's a difference between board developed and board endorsed courses. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Suffice to say that all of the courses that we offer at Snowy Mountains Grammar School are board developed courses. There are some exceptions in terms of the HSC Examinations. So it does say there English Studies and Mathematics Standard 1 don't have a HSC examination. We don't offer those at Snowy Mountains Grammar School. But one of the courses that we do offer that doesn't have HSC examination is English Extension 2, as an example. The board developed courses are included in the calculation for your Australian Tertiary Admission rank, otherwise known as ATAR. Board endorsed courses are courses that NISA endorse. Obviously, that's why it's called board endorsed course. You won't come across too many of those unless you take one of the VET courses, which may be a board endorsed course. So the structure. In the HSC, all of the courses have a unit value. So the most of the courses that you'll come across are 2 units. So 2 units equates to 4 hours of instruction per week, and that's about 120 hours per year. Whereas a 1 unit course is about 2 hours of instruction per week, which comes to about 60 hours per year. In Year 11, firstly, all of the courses are 2 unit except for the extension subjects that we offer, English Extension 1 and Mathematics Extension 1. All of them have equal status. So a 2 unit course is not more important or has a higher weighting than any other 2 unit course. They all weight equally in terms of the high school certificate. For the Year 11 course, you need to undertake a minimum of 12 units. So if you're doing your mathematics right now and thinking, well, all of them are 2 unit courses, I need to take 6 courses in Year 11. So usually that would be English, which is compulsory. You've got to take English, probably mathematics, and then 4 other 2 unit courses as a minimum for Year 11. You cannot drop courses in Year 11. You must take 12 units to the completion of Year 11 before you can drop or change subjects or whatever you need to do. So you need to complete those courses satisfactorily in Year 11 before you commencing the corresponding course in Year 12. Keep in mind that you don't just do geography in Year 11, then I'm going to pick up legal studies in Year 12. You need to have done legal studies in Year 11 in order to study it in Year 12. So the decisions that you're making now are a 2-year decision effectively, give or take a couple of things that you might be able to do. In Year 12, you need to take 10 units to achieve the HSC, but I did put caution there because your ATAR is calculated on your best 10 units. So if you're thinking about that, well, I've only got 10 units. If you bomb a HSC examination, then your ATAR may be adversely affected. So we strongly recommend at Snowy Mountains Grammar School that you take at least 11, more comfortably 12 units to the HSC. Both of these Year 11 and 12 courses are patterns of study. They include 2 units of compulsory English, so they can be standard or advanced English, but you don't get out of English. It's compulsory. You need at least 6 board-developed courses, at least 3 courses of 2 units value or greater, and at least 4 subjects including English. You can also study a maximum of 6 units of science in Year 11. It can go to 7 units if you choose to take science extension in Year 12. So all of these things it looks like a lot of numbers, a lot of units to consider. But if you're undertaking a typical pattern of study, you won't have any issues. If you do, I'll let you know about it. So from 7 to 10, we expect you to complete the courses that you're undertaking. In Year 11 and 12, this takes a much higher. So there are course completion things that you need to do in order to complete a course. So the first thing is you've got to follow the course developed or endorsed by NISA. You must apply yourself with diligence and sustained effort to the set tasks and experiences provided in the course by the school, and you must achieve some or all of the course outcomes. So what that equates to is that you could sit there and do all of the assessment tasks, and if you're not doing the classwork or the coursework, you may be in danger of not satisfactorily completing that Year 11 course. So it's really important that you do the work that is given to you in each of those courses. The VET board-developed courses require you also to complete mandatory work placement, which we'll talk about later on. For Year 12 specifically, there are assessment tasks involved. So Year 11 generally has 3 assessment tasks, and Year 12 have 4 assessment tasks in most of the courses. So you need to actually complete greater than 50% of the available marks in those courses where the internal assessment marks are submitted. So if you have 4 assessment tasks in Year 12 in a subject, and 2 of them are 20% to make 40%, or actually, let's rephrase that, 2 of them are 25% to get to 50%, and then you've got 2 others, completing those 2 assessment tasks is not enough. You need to actually complete more than that. So you need to complete at least 3. Now, obviously, by saying that, you should still complete, and it is an expectation that you complete all of the assessment tasks. So otherwise, you would get a warning to say that you're not meeting the requirements of the course. Because remember, you have to apply yourself with diligence, which means that we would expect you to complete all of the work. Obviously, I'm not talking to most of you who won't have any problem with that and will do all of the work. You need to sit for and make a serious attempt at any requisite high school certificate examination for a course. So a serious attempt is not just doing the multiple choice. You need to actually put pen to paper in other parts of the HSC paper. So it's really critical that you do that. So that's, if you will, laying down the law of the expectations of you in Year 11 and 12 in terms of courses. As I've said, there won't be any issues. The majority of you are going to do all the work and do the best that you can, which is the expectation that we have for you at Snowy Mountains Grammar School. I'm sure that your parents and or carers would also feel the same. Let's talk about some of those courses that we offer within the school. So, as I've said before, English is compulsory, so you need to do either 2-unit English Advanced or 2-unit English Standard. The differences within those courses is explained by Miss Jones. There's a video on this page where you can watch Miss Jones and I talk about English and all of the different English courses on offer in Year 11 and 12. So I strongly recommend that you watch that. But effectively, there are the 2 units that you've got to do one of those courses, and they're optional extensions. So you can do in Year 11 and 12 English Extension 1. You need to be studying concurrently Advanced English for that. So if you do Standard, none of these optional extensions are open to you. English Extension 1 in Year 11, 12, and in Year 12 you can do English Extension 2. That's by invitation only, and again we talk about it in that English video, so please watch it. Mathematics courses, I've underlined that and I've put should because I strongly feel, and I'm not biased because I'm not a mathematics teacher, you should be doing mathematics. It is such a critical subject for life. Getting change from someone, doing your taxes, working out if I'm paying $25 for a mask to protect myself from coronavirus. Is that expensive? So that's the sort of thing that you need to consider in life. So that's why you should do mathematics. You should do either 2-unit Mathematics Advanced. So that's for students who, if you get an A or a B in Year 10, 5.3 Mathematics, you should consider doing Advanced. or Mathematics Standard 2, which is just below that. There's no calculus involved in that, and that is focused on more everyday mathematics, which is a really, really critical skills to have for you in life. So either one of those. If you're not going to do mathematics, I would like to have a conversation with you about why. So I do understand that, some students it's not for them, and that's absolutely fine. But we want to make sure that you're making the right decision, not taking mathematics. There are optional extensions, again, just like in English. These extensions are open to you if you're taking advanced mathematics. There is Mathematics Extension 1 in Year 11 and 12, and Mathematics Extension 2, which is only in Year 12. Mathematics Extension 2 is extremely complex subject, so it's something that you need to be brilliant at mathematics to take. So just consider that if you're thinking about taking that, you do need to talk to Dr. Lloyd because he will tell you that it is not a lot of work, but it's pretty intense in terms of the content. So that's mathematics. The one thing I will go back to briefly, and I probably will answer this on the night, is that if you start in advanced, we want you to challenge yourself. So if you're on the cusp, you should probably take advanced. But if it's too difficult for you, you can drop down to standard in both English and mathematics. I would recommend that you do that at the end of Year 11 because you get a ROSA, Record of School Achievement, at the end of Year 11, and all of your marks reset when you go into Year 12. So if you sort of are doing advanced mathematics and you're not going too well, and you might get a C in your ROSA in Year 11, that's okay, because in Year 12 it resets. If you go into standard, you might be able to attain a B because you might be that might be a more appropriate course for you. Science courses, you can do any combination of these. So physics, chemistry, biology, and we're introducing investigating science. It used to be a course called Senior Science that we did offer until the last HSC in that, which was 2018. And now we're introducing Investigating Science, which is the general science course. It's more rigorous though than Senior Science, so it's not a subject you can just do and do it in sleep. There is a lot of rigor involved in that, but it's general. In Year 11, you can take a maximum of 3 subjects, which is 6 units. So you can't do all 4, but you can do a combination of 3 of those. I would like to add also Investigating Science is designed to take in concert with some of those other sciences. So if you want more information, please come and have a conversation with me and I'll explain that. PDHPE, which is Personal Development, Health and Physical Education, that is a science course, but it's not included in that restriction with the 6 units. So technically you could do Physics, Chemistry, Investigating Science and PDHPE. You could do those. In year 12, we do have an optional extension for science. We have Science Extension, which is a 1-unit course, which is a massive research project. So that would bring you to 7 units of science that you could take to the HSC. Now on to HSIE courses. We offer 5, Ancient History and Modern History, Business Studies, Geography and Legal Studies. And Creative Arts and Technology. These aren't named after the current faculties, but they sort of sit together. Drama, music, visual art, and design and technology. So they round off all the subjects that we offer within the school. There are some distance education courses that you can take. So if none of those, or if you need to take another course that we don't offer, you can do that. Quite frequently it's languages. So through Finnegan Distance Education, which is in Queanbeyan, or the New South Wales School of Languages. If it's at Finnegan, you've got to take it through Finnegan. I think they've got Italian, German, Spanish and French. But if it's a language that if you have a strong desire to do Swahili, I don't know if it's offered, but if you want to do Swahili, you would have to go through the New South Wales School of Languages. Indonesian, let's pick something that's not as exotic, but Indonesian would be offered through the New South Wales School of Languages. That comes as an additional cost. It's at the moment in 2020, it's $800 per year to study a course via distance education. Some other examples there, you could do Aboriginal Studies, Economics, Engineering Studies, Religion, Studies of Religion, IPT, Information Process and Technology, and there are VET courses as well that go through distance education too. So there are a massive amount of distance education courses that you can take if you feel like you want to do one of those. So again, please come and have a chat with me if you want to have a look at the courses on offer and what you might want to do, but just keep in mind there is an additional cost. And you need to be an independent learner as well, because there's no one there telling you what to do with that. It's on, I think they use Moodle, it's like Canvas, and you need to be following exactly what you're meant to be doing. So you need to be a strong independent worker. So in terms of the delivery at St Martin's Grammar School, we've come away from this because our numbers have increased in the last couple of years. So, but there are still, might be one or two subjects that still are offered in a 4-4-4 model. As I mentioned before, there are 8 periods per cycle, or 4 periods per week, 8 periods per cycle for all Year 11 courses and Year 12 courses. I think English and Maths is one more. But effectively, 4-4-4 means that there are 4 periods of Year 11 alone, 4 periods of Year 11 and 12 together, and 4 periods of Year 12 alone. And if you work that out, that means that you still get your 8 periods per cycle of Year 11 and Year 12. But because the cohorts are small, then both can be working in the same room at the same time. So if there are 10 students and some are in Year 11, some in Year 12, the teacher will easily be able to get around to you in the classroom, even though you're doing the different course. From experience, we've had this for a very long time, and there is no disadvantage to you at the HSC if you have a subject that is 4-4-4. So don't feel that it's going to be detrimental to your HSC or your ATAR. Obviously, if there's 20 students in Year 11 and Year 12, there's no way we will make it 4-4-4. It's only so that we can offer those courses with small cohorts. I will also add there too, so investigating science, which is an example, some may be offered partly online. So there might be a large online component, and there might be lesser periods within the cycle that you need to go to, but the expectation is that you're working on those other periods to meet your subject hours in the study periods that you have, or online we might do tutorials or something like that. So that's just something else to consider, that some courses might fall into that category. The important thing is all courses are subject to minimum numbers and or timetable constraints. So I've mentioned the minimum numbers. If there's only 2 students wanting to do a course, it's unlikely that it's going to run. I can't tell you what the minimum numbers are because there are also timetable constraints. When we do the line structure, when you make your selections, I base the line structure around your selections. So you might have a course that might have 3 or 4 students wanting to do it, but it may not fit into the timetable. That's why it's absolutely crucial that your selections are as accurate as possible. So really put effort into thinking about what you really want to do. Don't just have it as a thing where you're just going to go, well, I'm just going to do that and I'll think about it later, because it means that the subjects that you might want to do may not be available on the lines that you want. Okay, I'm going to quickly talk about VET courses. So Miss Emma Smith, who's the careers coordinator, she went through this on the night. But effectively, you have board-developed courses, board-endorsed VET courses. So the board-developed courses are possibly ATAR eligible. So they have an optional HSC examination. If you do that, it's ATAR eligible. The board-endorsed courses are not ATAR eligible. So the courses may be available to all students, school-based trainees only, or school-based apprentices. So there's a lot of variation in VET courses. They let you complete a workplace credential while still at school, and the qualifications are recognised Australia-wide. So it's called the AQF, which is Australian Qualifications Framework. Okay, so the VET board-developed courses are based on nationally endorsed training packages. There are qualifications units of competency, which have been included in the HSC syllabus. They describe how units of competency are arranged into HSC VET courses. It includes HSC outcomes and content, and it also includes a mandatory work placement. So that they also, as I've mentioned, have an optional HSC examination, which will go to your ATAR if you choose to take the examination. So you could do a board-developed course and not do the HSC examination if you have enough units for your ATAR, but more often than not, you'd probably want to do that HSC examination. In terms of the VET qualifications, there are 2 options. You do a 1-year course, which will give you a statement of attainment, and that's 2 units over 1 year. That's because you will have met some of the competencies, but not all of the competencies. In the 2-year course, the expectation is that you meet the competencies required to get the full qualification for that course, and that will take 2 years. You need to complete 35 hours of mandatory work placement for 120 hours of coursework. That's 35 hours every year. So that could actually be in the holidays. So that is an option to consider. So if you're thinking about a VET course, just keep that in mind, that it's a compulsory aspect of a VET course. There is an additional cost which is paid directly to the TAFE or the external provider. So again, keep in mind, like distance education courses, this will cost you more money to do a VET qualification. There are some examples of VET courses that you could do. Last year, we had a student taking information and digital technology to the HSC. We've had metal and engineering in the past. You can do construction, automotive, lots of other different options there for you in terms of VET courses. These ones are going to be offered at Cooma in 2021. There's TVET courses, so you get a Cert 2 or a Cert 3 in the case of tourism there. You get a statement of attainment or a full qualification. So there's at least one there that's going to be online delivery. So usually with that, they normally run on Wednesdays at TAFE in Cooma. So you have to make your way there to do the TAFE course or the TAFE course. But they're all ATAR eligible in this case because they'll have a HSC examination attached to them. So SBAT, School-Based Apprenticeships and Traineeships, these are available to everyone in Year 10, 11 and 12 and high school students in New South Wales. They allow you to commence an apprenticeship or complete a traineeship while still at school. We have one student in Year 11 doing that at the moment in early childhood education and care. And an SBAT person or a traineeship combines paid work, training and school, and as well as an industry recognised national qualification. You can gain credit towards the HSC, keeping in mind that some of them won't be ATAR eligible. But some of them do contribute towards the ATAR, depending on what apprenticeship it is. So again, it depends on what course that you're looking at. I would strongly recommend that you talk to Mrs. Smith about that because she'll be able to tell you all the information that you need to know about TVET, VET courses, SBAT and traineeships. So in 2021 in Cooma, these are the SBAT courses that they're going to offer. So just as a taster for those courses that you might want to consider. Okay, on to HSC All My Own Work, and for current Year 10 students, you're aware of this because of the majority of you have actually completed this already. So it's basically designed to help you follow the principles and practices of good scholarship. If I was going to be quite blunt, it means not plagiarizing people effectively, but also it's about giving people credit for the work that they're doing. So it's not just not cutting and pasting. It's more than that. It includes the ethical practices when you're locating and using information as part of HSC studies. Keep in mind that for Year 11 and 12, if a student is caught plagiarizing, I need to actually report that to NISA. So it becomes a very critical thing. You'll get 0. So the expectation is that you won't be doing that. And that's the reason why it's important to learn about that, which is why we've done the HSC All My Own Work course. So before I can even enroll you in any preliminary HSC or preliminary course or HSC course, it comes up with a thing saying, have you completed? And I have to tick off that you've actually done that. So that's why we're going through that in Year 10 at the moment to get that done, so you can go straight into Year 11 and not have to worry about having to add that to the list of things that you need to do when you get into Year 11. Let's talk about those HSC Credentials and Results. So this, I have my high school certificate from 1989. It hasn't really changed that much actually, but there's been a couple of changes, but it looks pretty similar to that. Obviously it has changed. This is an old one because it's still got Board of Studies on it. But effectively, there's a couple of things we need to look at here. All the HSC courses are listed with assessment mark, examination mark, HSC mark, and performance band. So how do they get those marks? I'm about to talk about that. The performance band has got to do with the level at which you are. So 90 and above is a band 6, 80 to 89 is a band 5, 70 to 79 is a band 4, 60 to 69 is a band 3, 50 to 59 is a band 2, and then under 50 is a band 1. So all of those courses are listed there for this particular person. sample student, their name is, and go to sample high school. All of the years listed with the most recent years first, and what you'll also notice is all your preliminary courses are listed. As I mentioned, at the end of year 11, you get, at the end of year 10, at the end of year 11, both years, you get something called a ROSA, which is a record of school achievement. So at the end of year 10, you'll get graded in English, maths, science, history, geography, PDHPE, and any of the electives that you get to 100 hours in, and you'll get a grade. The same thing happens at the end of year 11, you'll also get a grade. So if you decide to leave school at the end of year 11, that will be what you're going to use to go to look for jobs. If you go through year 11, you've got your ROSA, but then it's superseded. If you get to your HSC and get your HSC and your ATAR, that will be superseded. However, the year 11 ROSA can be crucial in terms of sending off applications to university, because they may want to know how you've gone in year 11. So year 11 is not because the marks reset in year 12, that doesn't mean that in year 11 you can just chill through year 11, because your ROSA is really critical. It could end up being something that's very, very important to you in order to apply for university, or even not university, so like applying for jobs, applying for traineeships and that sort of thing. So it's really important that you go really well in that. So all of that information's there. What does that mean? I'm going to talk about the exam mark, where that comes from, which is where you think it is, yes, from the HSC examination, and the assessment mark, which, yes, technically comes from the school when you're doing assessment tasks and we have a mark for you. And the HSC mark is a 50-50 split of that. It's a lot more complicated than that, so I've just simplified it for now. So effectively you have an internal assessment mark, which is 50%, and an external examination mark, which is 50%. So the assessment that you do is worth 50% of your overall HSC mark, and the external HSC examination mark is worth 50%. So to add those together, you get an average, more or less, and that gives you your HSC mark. Couple of caveats though. Firstly, the mark that you get in the HSC is not the mark you actually get on your piece of paper that says this is my HSC mark. It's actually scaled already. So it's actually a HSC scaled exam mark. Hopefully I've put there as well. Yes. So I could be a really mean marker and give everyone 40% and 35%, even though you're probably going to get 80-90% in the HSC. So why is that fair? It's not. So the first time that I don't have anything to do with the mark that you get is when you sit down in front of your HSC examination. When you do that, you're independent. So that is a real reflection on your true ability. So if I have been really a harsh marker, what will happen is that scaled HSC examination mark will be used to moderate the assessment mark that I've given to NISA. So I've said 45%, right? And you get 90% in the HSC. So that assessment mark would be moderated upwards in that case, which is why that's called a raw moderated assessment mark. So the assessment mark is moderated based on what you do in the HSC examination. So that's why the HSC examination is super critical for you. Conversely, if I am a really nice person, which I am, but I'm not going to give everyone 100%, but say I did, you're probably not going to get, no one's going to get, not the whole class certainly is not going to get 100% in the HSC. So it will be moderated down, because your true reflection of your true abilities in the HSC examination is not going to be 100%. So those marks will be moderated down. Okay, so that controls for the teachers, because we can look at a mark and go, well, look at a piece of work and go, well, that's a B, that's a band 5, so that's in the 80s. But another teacher might go, no, that's in the 70s, that's a band 4. How can you possibly control for that? And how you can control for that is by how you go in your HSC examination, where it's an even playing field. So both of those are added up and you get your reported HSC mark. So you find that the moderated assessment mark, or the assessment mark, and the HSC exam, that if you add them up and divide by 2, that will be more or less what the HSC exam, the HSC mark is given on the piece of paper, and that's where your band comes from. So if you do get 84%, that is going to be a band 5. Hopefully that makes sense. The HSC examination is important because it contributes 50% of the HSC mark. Remember, some vet examinations are optional. If they're board developed, it will go towards the ATAR. Some courses have practical examinations, so I've simplified it because some courses are a little bit different. There might be submitted works, major works, or projects in addition to the HSC examination. I'm thinking drama, I'm thinking visual art, I'm thinking design and technology. There are 3 examples where the HSC examination is an hour and a half. It's shorter because you do a major work in term 3 that contributes a significant proportion of the marks that you're going to get in that HSC course. So that's another thing to consider too when you're selecting courses. Find out the ones that do have a major work because it makes you very busy in term 3. And you might consider that sometimes if you're trying to think of several courses that you want to do, it might be too much. You might have 3 major works. It's a massive amount of work in term 3. Even though you get rewarded at the end with a very short HSC examination, it might be a lot of work in term 3. Written examinations are held in October and November each year. Internal assessment, why is it important? Well, as I've discussed, it contributes 50% of your HSC mark and ATAR if you're eligible for that. It's a course completion requirement. You've got to do those assessment tasks. It's not just an optional thing. And the last thing is that if you have an acute illness on the day of HSC examination, it'll be used to calculate or estimate your mark. So an illness or misadventure is an acute illness for which you have significant evidence for. So it's not just like I can't be bothered doing my HSC exam. That will never fly with NISA and you will get a non-attempt. But if it's something like I'm driving to school and I've got appendicitis and I'm in hospital for 2 weeks, that might be considered to be something that will probably be successful. The other thing is misadventure as well. We have had a situation where a student was in the car park and their foot was run over by a car in a lot of agony during the HSC examination, and that was also approved as a misadventure. So it's one of those things, and that's where the HSC internal assessment comes into play, that you've actually done the assessment tasks and we've got a mark for you to use. We have assessment policies in Year 11 and 12, something you're going to be very familiar with because we've introduced those into Year 7 to 10. So this one is the physics one from a couple of years ago. It tells you that there are 3 tasks, what they are, the weeks due, the outcomes assessed, what the topic focus is, and the weightings of each of those tasks. Okay, so you'll get a booklet again with all that information in it too. Okay. On to the ATAR. This is the section that a lot of you want to know about. So let's talk about the difference between the HSC and the ATAR. The HSC is for all students. It's student achievement in terms of the standard achieved, and it presents a profile of student achievement across a broad range of subjects, all the subjects that you take. The ATAR is if you want to go to university, and it's a rank. It's not a mark. So if you get 84.5 for your ATAR, that's not 84.5%. It's a rank. I'll explain this in more detail in the Stage 6 information evening, which we run in February. But effectively, everyone who finishes the HSC gets ranked. All of the students that didn't get to the end of Year 12 are pushed underneath everyone who did. And so that's why all of the ATARs, the rankings go up. The average ATAR is something like high 60s, low 70s each year. So that's the average ATAR. So if you're getting an ATAR estimate from me that's 80, you are above the average ATAR. But if you're getting a 65, 68, you're going to be pretty much the average ATAR of all of the students within your cohort. Okay. You're going to get an ATAR if you complete 10 units of board-developed courses, which include 2 units of English. So it might add not only is English compulsory, it will always count for your ATAR. So one of the things that I talk about with students when I'm looking at estimating their ATAR and talking about how they can improve it, often English is the one that's dragging them down. You need to go really well in English. You need to complete 4 board-developed courses. You need at least 8 units of Category A courses, which are the board and developed ones, and complete no more than 2 units of Category B courses, which are the ATAR eligible VET courses. So there's a lot of red there, but effectively I'll let you know if you're not going to get an ATAR. How do you calculate the ATAR? Well, that is very complex. So as we know, the exam mark that you get is scaled, okay, and the assessment mark that you get from the school goes to NISA. That's also moderated based on that examination mark. The average to produce your raw mark. So we've called that just previously the HSC mark. Okay, that's a raw mark, and that's changed into a scaled mark based on the competition in each of those courses. So the scaled marks are the marks that students will receive if all the course candidates were the same. So there's a scaling algorithm which controls for the strength of the competition. It starts from the premise that a student's position in the course depends on how good you are at the course and the strength of the competition. So we talk about courses that scale down or scale well. Okay, it's more complex than that. It's not just about that course is worthless, so we're just going to scale it down. It's not that at all. Every course is worth every effort, all the efforts you put into it. And every course is equally as important as other courses. But some courses have students that are really good at that course doing that. So if you're slightly below the average, it will be reflected in the ATAR, and the ATAR will scale down. I'm going to do some examples in a minute. So we get a NISA, a moderated HSC mark, goes to UAC, which is the University's Admissions Centre, and then they scale each of those. And then remember, it's the quality of the candidates in the course, how well you've gone, and the strength of you in comparison to the competition in those courses. You always get 10 units. So we say the minimum to the HSC is 10 units. So why do we have 2-unit courses? Well, for the ATAR, each of the 2-unit courses is broken up into 1-unit courses. So instead of 100%, it becomes 2 courses, which are 2 marks out of 50, which is 1 unit each. Because when you think about it, you have your best 10 units. If you have 11 units because you've taken an extension subject, your 11th unit, your extension subject might be really good and might count for the ATAR. So what happens is if I take business studies and it's a really poor mark, and so what will happen is they'll take one of those units in business studies but not the other one. So that's where the 2 units turns into 2 marks out of 50. Okay, so it's 2 units of English, and the next best 8 units, and then you get your ATAR from that. We'll go into more detail again in the information evening in February. So I'm going through it pretty quickly, but as you can see, it's quite a complex calculation. So in 2019, UAC send out a report each year on the ATAR. So there's a lot of information in it, which is quite useful. So I've already said there that we strongly recommend that you're taking more than 10 units to the HSC. We don't want you to take 10 units to the HSC. We're not going to stop you doing it, but it means that everything counts. And I feel for students it's a lot more stressful to know that every single HSC exam that they're in will count. Having said that, though, it might be really good for a particular student in terms of well-being, or that you have an idea or a plan about what you want to do. It's really important to discuss that with me before you decide to drop a subject or anything like that. In 2019, almost 62% of the candidature in Year 12 had 10 units. Now, so what I'm saying is, don't do what the majority of Year 12 students do when they get to the HSC. It's risky. Let's talk about selecting those courses and the decisions that you need to make reasonably quickly. So there are a couple of things. Don't take a course if you're not interested in it, right? I'm not going to take legal studies if I really don't care about legal stuff, right? So I'm not going to do that. Don't take it because your friends are taking it, which I'll get to in a minute. Career aspirations and needs. So at the moment, you might have a bit of an idea what you want to do. So you might go, well, I love science, so I'm going to do science courses. Great. So you're probably going in that direction. But think about career aspirations. If you have no idea what you want to do, which is perfectly normal, I'll talk about what you need to do in that case. Syllabus requirements, the practical and major work components, keeping in mind that you don't want to overburden yourself in term 3 with a lot of major work. So be careful not to do that and make sure that you know which subjects have major works and which don't. it's basically creative arts subjects. So music, drama, visual arts, design technology, science extension, and English extension 2 are the ones that I would remember off the top of my head that have major works involved with them. Subject combinations. So there are a lot of subjects where the combination is very popular. In my field, physics and chemistry, for example, is a very popular subject combination. Your ability. So this is hinging on how you're going in Year 10 and what ROSA you're going to get at the end of Year 10. So if you're getting a C or a D, you're probably not going to take Maths Advanced. Okay, and we're going to get to that in a minute. In fact, right now. So these are recommendations for 2021, and it's traffic lights essentially. So we can't say you can't do a course, but what we can do is strongly recommend that you don't do that course. For English Advanced, we're recommending that you need to get an A or a B in Year 10 in your ROSA. Okay, so effectively that's above 70%, but it's a little bit different in terms of ROSA grades. It's different to the percentage. So we ascribe a B to 70 to 84, but that's not necessarily the case when we do your ROSA grade. Okay, because it's based on standards. It's a bit different. But effectively, if you've got an A or a B, or you're in a high C, so 64 to 69%, you'll probably be able to do English Advanced. If you're in the low Cs or you're in D or E, you need to do English Standard, okay, because there's a little bit less complexity in that course. English Extension 1, you need to do English Advanced. It's a co-requisite course, and you need to definitely have an A or B in English Advanced in Year 10 to be able to do English Extension 1. For Mathematics 5.3, you need to have done 5.3 Advanced in order to do Mathematics Advanced in Year 11, and you need to get an A or a B. A C is on the cusp and borderline, so you really need to consider whether you can do that. Now, if you've had a look at how we run maths now in Year 11, Year 9 and 10, there is a pathway for you to go from Mathematics 5.2 Intermediate to Mathematics Advanced. So it's going to be a very difficult path for you to take. We're not going to stop you, but we will recommend that you don't do that. So just keep that in mind. That's a possibility that you could do that. While we're talking about it, most courses at university now don't have prerequisites, or they usually have presumed knowledge. So if you decide, I really want to do engineering, I need to have done Mathematics Advanced, they'll put you in a bridging course, which at your expense, of course, so that you will reach the standard that you need in order to undertake that course. So it's important to keep that in mind. Mathematics Extension 1 is the co-requisite course for that is Mathematics Advanced, and again an A or B definitely in Maths 5.3. If you've got a C in your cusp and you're doing Mathematics Advanced, you shouldn't be doing a Mathematics Extension 1. The other courses there are physics and chemistry. They're the more challenging sciences. Biology is challenging, yes, but it's more the amount of content that's involved in biology. So if you're good at comprehension, that would be okay. Physics and chemistry have some complex concepts that you need to be able to understand. So our recommendation is if you get an A or B in science, so more or less 70% or above, you would probably be okay in those courses, and you shouldn't have too much of a problem. If you're a high C, would be okay. So anything below 64, definitely be coming to have a conversation with me. I would be hesitant in that C area as well, but I'm not saying don't do it, but have an out. So have 12 units, get to the end of Year 11, so you might be able to drop it if it has proven too challenging for you. Communication is the key, Year 10. Please come and have a conversation with me about it to see what options are. If it's too difficult for you, if it's going to be hard, we can have those conversations. Talk to a lot of people, okay? Don't just talk to one person in this case. So my advice for selecting courses, what do you want for your future? What pathway best suits you? You need to ask advice from many people. Don't just take someone's advice. So a student in Year 11 visual arts, right, hates the course. get rid of it, right? I hate it. I'm not going to do it. So they're going to go to, I hate visual arts. Oh, don't do that. It's an awful course. Don't listen to just them, because you'll find multiple other students that love visual arts. Okay, so it's really important that you don't just listen to one person. Teachers will also encourage you to do their courses, and I'm also one of those teachers as well. I would only be recommending you do it if you get an A or B in science, physics, chemistry, or any of the sciences there, because that's my field. But keep in mind that teachers will be pushing you to do the course. They'll only do it if they feel that you're capable of doing it, but it may not be for you. So listen to them, but listen to other people. Parents and carers only want what's best for you. And they've been through the HSC, so they've got a bit of an idea of what it used to be like, and it's very different now. But keep in mind they only want what's best for you, and that may not be what you want. So it's a consideration that you need to discuss with them carefully. The careers coordinator, so Miss Smith's there to help you if you're saying, I want to do underwater knitting at university, what courses do I need to do? And I can also help in that regard as well too. Students in year 11 and 12, it's a great idea to talk to them about those courses, but again, with that caveat, keep in mind that they may have a very different opinion of the course. They're not you. You are going to be very unique in how you approach these courses and if you enjoy them. So please keep that in mind. If a student hates a course, you might want to talk to the teacher and say, well, blah, 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 don't name names, don't like the course, and then it'd be like, well, maybe this is the reason why. So communication's key. Publications and the website. So we've created a brand new subject selection website. We've got our booklet, subject selection booklet for you as well. So that's also something to consider as well. There's lots of other information out there that might be able to help you get information. What I would suggest is if you're getting information from out there, just confirm it with Ms. Smith or myself in terms of, if I'm going to do this course, do I do this course in year 11 and year 12? I get a lot of students that regret their choices. So I should have done this and I should have done that. So if you have no idea, you need to select a broad range of subjects. You have to take English. I strongly recommend mathematics. I would also recommend at least one science course, because you never know when it comes in handy. So humanities courses as well, one of those, and a creative arts course. If you're an all-rounder, you could do that. So all of those, and you've actually got so you need to take 4 courses in addition to English, Maths to get your 12 units. So you've got an extra one somewhere. So if you're a sciencey person, do 2 sciences. If you're a humanities type person, do 2 humanities subjects. If you're a creative arts person, do 2 creative arts subjects. Okay. If you are a real humanities nut, you might want to do 3 of those humanities courses, and that's fine. 3 creative arts, not a problem at all, only in term 3 when you've got 3 major works to consider, so just keep that in mind. So have a broad range is what I'm saying, so don't put all your eggs in one basket, because you might think you want to do that career, but then you may not. Okay. So don't dismiss a subject area unless you're completely sure you have no interest in it or requirement for it in the future. So if you really have an idea, you've got an idea about a subject area you want to go in, you need to talk to people to work out what courses you need to take. In red, and it is the worst thing you can do, your friends doing it. Oh, let's do all these courses together. Oh, we'll do that. Why don't we do this? We'll have fun in that course. Oh no, we'll do that one together because we can study together. While that's true, they're not you. They're going to go on a different career path to you. It's highly unlikely they're going to go and do the same university course as you. So you really don't feel pressured to do it. Okay, so this is your choice about what you want to do for your future. So you'll see your friends in English or maths or whatever. So it's okay that you're doing a course that they're not doing, okay, that you're away from them for 1 hour of the day. It's acceptable, okay? So please don't be pressured into doing a course that you may or may not want to do and you're hesitant to consider. So if we were physical, this would be the time that you would have a booklet and you'd have curly whirlies in your booklet. So I'm really apologise that there is no chocolate tonight, but think of it as a curly whirly. The reason why it is that if you do make a mistake in the choices for year 11 and 12, it's okay. If you're starting from one end of the curly whirly to another end, There are a lot of different paths that you can take to get there. When I taught at uni, I was teaching Bachelor of Medical Science students. There were students that didn't get an ATAR, getting the ATAR required to get into medicine. They did Bachelor of Medical Science, which was a lower ATAR, then they gained course credit into medicine. And this was in the fledgling days of Facebook, so 2007, 2008, and I friended them all on Facebook, right, as you did in the day, and all of them are doctors now. So I know they all got to where they wanted to go eventually. So don't feel that you've selected the wrong courses or your ATAR is not as good as what you wanted. There are always options. Okay, so the more important thing is the higher the ATAR, the more options you have, but there are always options in case you don't get that ATAR that you want. Okay, subject performance. So let's talk about being above average. So these are actually the average marks in courses at the HSC from 2012 to 2019. So I'm averaged these. So there are a couple of first things that might strike you is, it's not 50%. No, it's not. So these course averages are much higher. Okay, so we've got courses more or less in the 70s usually is the course average. So if you're sitting at 74 and you're doing visual art, you think, well, that's a good mark actually. No, it's not. You're actually well below the average within HSC, in HSC. The average for most visual art of most creative arts courses are higher than other courses. And that's because the competition is fierce. So you've got very good artists, very good musicians, very good actors and actresses that are doing those courses. So it's very fierce competition, which is why those marks are higher. Science courses, HSC courses are in the middle there, so those are lower. Math Standard 2, that's Math Standard 2 there, that is a low average. That's because a lot of students do Mathematics Standard 2 because they need mathematics. They may not be good at it, but remember in the ATAR, 12 units. If you take 12 units to the HSC, 2 units don't count. So strategically, you could take mathematics knowing you're not going to go very well in it, and it won't count to your ATAR. It's not going to affect your ATAR, but you will have completed mathematics at year 12. So there's an example here I'm going to talk about in a minute. This is the example I'm referring to. So this is real data from a couple of years ago, and we've got 3 students here. So these are the HSC marks that they attained in all of those subjects that they did. So the average ended up being about the same. It's 74 for student A, 72 for student B, and 73 for student C. Pretty much the same. Let's have a look at their scaled marks. So now the ATAR, UAC have taken the marks and scaled them. Everything scales down. Maths Extension 2 scales down only slightly, but everything scales down. So this is the mark. Now, it is 2 marks out of 50, but I'm simplifying it and leaving it as a percentage for you. So this is not what it really looks like, but let's have a look. They're the scaled marks. Adding up those marks and you get a sum of 223, which is going to be the average, the 10 units there. Student B has 293. You can see there, firstly, they've got 12 units. They've got maths there. And their maths mark is not that good, and it's scaled, not a very good mark. So that's not going to be included in their ATAR because they've got the 12 units. So it was a strategic thing because this particular student wanted to go into teaching, in which you must have mathematics in teaching. That's why they've done that. And student C, okay, has got 10 units again, and they get 250. Now you're starting to see a bit of a difference there. Let's have a look at their predicted and actual ATARs. Massive difference. Student B, who had 12 units, could rely on the other units to pick her up when mathematics wasn't going to count. She's got an ATAR of 74.6. Student A, who actually had the highest average HSC mark, got the lowest ATAR. So it's a combination of how they went in the courses that they have selected and the strength of the competition in the courses that they selected. So Advanced English 69 would be pulling them down, but the General Maths, which is now Standard Maths, is what pulled them down there. They've only got 65%, but they haven't got 12 units, so they've got no comeback. They've got nothing to alleviate that ATAR issue. Student C got a bit higher than that, 65.9, but again, the courses they've selected and the marks that were scaled effectively, and the strength of the competition. So the moral of the story is you can never look at a percentage again, ever, in year 11 and 12 and compare it with another subject. It could be totally different. If you're looking at an ATAR and you're looking at going to university, then you need to consider what course that's coming from and the strength of the competition. Let's have a look at the ATAR. So I've taken the ATAR book, the UAC report that comes out every year, and I've done exactly what they say not to do, which is do a scaling tool based on those marks. So there's not much to read on this, but effectively all I'm driving home here is each of the courses here have very different scaling effects. So these ones here would be usually music and visual arts or drama. So creative arts subjects, you need to be well above the average. Remember, the averages were higher. You need to go much higher in those subjects in order to get the same effect on your ATAR. So if you get a raw HSC mark of 85% in visual art or drama or music, it only comes down to about a 55 or 45 in the ATAR. It's going to make a massive difference to you when you consider others, such as, I think that might possibly be maybe Maths Extension 1, maybe, or chemistry. That might be chemistry there. So that's going to be 80 something. Okay, so it makes a massive difference to your ATAR, depending on what subject you take. Let's have a look at it in a bit more dramatic terms, if you will. So there are my HSC marks. They're my ATAR scaled marks. Okay, so if I want an ATAR scale mark, I'll keep going back. 80% here, which is 2 lots of 40 out of 50 for your ATAR. If I want that, what mark do I have to get in a HSC, in my raw mark in the HSC? Let's have a look at the subjects that we offer at Snow Mountains Grammar School and see what effect that has. So effectively, to get the ATAR scale mark of 80, these are the marks that you need to get as a raw HSC mark. So firstly, you can see there to start with, chemistry, for example, there, 87% in chemistry will go down to 80. But in order to get the same effect in on your ATAR in drama, you need 92%. Now that gap widens as the mark decreases. Okay. Let's have a look at some other subjects. Again, still 80. And this time, 89% in Maths Advanced would give you the same ATAR scaling effect, and this is only 2009, so that's 2019, and it's an estimate, so it's not exact. So that's just the disclaimer. It's not exact, but it's giving you an indication. Music would be 96% that you need to get. So if you're getting 96% in music and 89% in Maths Advanced, that's giving you the same effect on your ATAR. As you can see, in this case, Maths Extension 2 does scale up. So that's how difficult it is. It actually scales up to 80, okay? Let's have a look at now if it was an ATAR mark of 60. So that's a much lower. Let's see what mark that would be. And you'll see the gap starting to, because you saw the slope of those graphs. Some of them are much steeper than others. So now I'm down to 74% in chemistry, but I'd still need to get 85% in design and technology. That's 11% difference to get the same ATAR mark in the 2019 ATAR scaling. And last lot, the rest of the subjects, these are what you would need to go to 60. So we've still got, say, music, visual arts is still at 87% to go to 60, whereas in physics, I've got 73% to get to 60. But you might be thinking, oh, I'm going to take science subjects because they scale well. They're more difficult. The strength of the competition and how well you go in them comes into play. So if you're as good, what I would say is, if you're as good in visual arts as you are in physics, you'll get 73 physics and you'll get 87% visual arts. Those marks in those creative arts subjects will be naturally higher than your other subjects because that's where you should be sitting, okay? So I would never say don't take a subject because of scaling. Some of them do scale favorably, but it really depends on how you go in them. The favorable scaling is not going to mean anything if you're not getting the marks in those subjects. So it's something to consider, but you shouldn't be deciding on subjects based on scaling alone. If you want more information, please come and have a conversation with me. One of the things I do want to talk about, though, is English Standard or Advanced and Maths Standard or Advanced. So I've taken the last 3 years of information from the ATAR reports, and you can see there's not actually much difference between Standard and Advanced for scaling purposes at the ATAR. If you get an 85% in HSC mark, there's very little difference that it's going to have an effect on your ATAR. Okay, so your scaled mark. Advanced becomes a little bit more of an advantage when you come down below 80% in your HSC. You're getting a couple of percent, and that does increase more, presumably, as you go down there as well. So if you're thinking Standard Advanced, Standard Advanced, Standard Advanced, well, if you're going to take Advanced and you're going to take a hit of 5%, if you get 5% lower in Advanced, because it's a more difficult subject than Standard, it may not make much of a difference to your ATAR, because if you're down here at 75%, then it might be a couple of percent here or there. So take Standard or Advanced depending on what you would like to do. I would always say challenge yourself, so remember you can always drop down in Maths and in English. Math Standard 2 this is, or Advanced, is a much bigger difference. Advanced always has an advantage when it comes to scaling. When you're at 85%, you're looking at an advantage of about 7 or 8% there. Okay, so that remains pretty much stable throughout that whole thing. It does Advanced does hold up a bit more when you go down a bit further there. So disclaimer, this is based on the data that's in that report. So in order for, and if you're a capable science student, you will know that in terms of a line of best fit, which is what this is, you need data. You can't extrapolate beyond the data set there. So after 70%, there's no data. So the slope of that graph could completely change. So what I'm showing you these for is to give you an indication, just to make sure that you're aware of scaling and that some subjects you need to do better in terms of the percentage than other subjects. Okay, so you might have had to have grabbed another cup of tea and probably some chocolate by now, but we're almost at the end. I'm sorry that it goes for so long, but this is really important information and it answers a lot of the questions that you might have as well. Where to next? What am I going to do? Okay. Select. So you need your English level, Maths level, extension subjects if you would like them, and 4 main electives. And then you've got 3 reserve electives. So the line structure will depend on those 4 main electives, but if it doesn't work the way that you would like it, you may get one of your reserve electives. Okay, so you do need some backup subjects as well in case it doesn't work. I will mention offline subjects. We have had them in the past and we do have them, but you need a proven track record of being able to work independently. It's not guaranteed. If you come to me and say you want to do an offline subject, we may not approve that. You need to show, and now is the time in Year 10 to show this and to prove that when you come to the end of it in end of term 3, that you've got a track record that you're showing me that you can do that, and the teachers of those subjects accept you as an offline student. So usually the default is no, but you might be able to do it depending on if you've got that track record of independent learning and that we'd be satisfied that you'll be able to do it and that the teachers are accepting that you will be able to do that and they accept you into that offline arrangement. So that's what you need to do. We're using a new system this year. I've already had one of the Year 10 students just come and have a go to see if it worked, and it did. So hopefully there won't be any issues with it. But what will happen is you will get an email, the link to the site, you'll get a code, and you'll be able to put that in. You put all the information in, you submit it, then it comes up as a PDF that will be sent to you in your email. You need to print that out. You need a parent or carer to sign that, okay, to say these are the subjects that I've selected, and then I'll do the line structure after that. Okay, so once I do the line structure, you'll be able to make your final choices if there's some lines or some subjects that you haven't been able to get because of the line structure. Save and print it to your parent or carer can sign it, return it to me. My inboxes next to the door. If I'm not there, I'll just slip it under my door. And the information needs to be as accurate as possible. Remember, we're designing line structures based on what you have. So you need to make sure that it really is not something that you've just gone, nah, I'll think about it later. You need to really think about it right now. That's due next Friday, the 7th of August. So it's Thursday night. It's at the moment, so 30th of July, 7th of August is when I need that information first thing in the morning or at some point on Friday to make sure that you've got that information. If you haven't got it into me by then, you won't be considered in terms of the line structure. Okay, so I'm only going to base the line structure on the students that have got their choices in. If you haven't done it, then you have to make do with what line structure it is. So if you want to say in that line structure, it's critical that you get that in. Okay, so we're almost there. So this iceberg feels like me at the moment because I did say 35-40 minutes, but it's obviously going a lot longer because I like a bit of a chat, but it's really important information for you. The visible success, and this is what it's going to be like in year 11 and 12. You'll see the iceberg, but you won't see everything underneath that and all of what you're about to go through with the support of us at Snowman's Grammar School. Persistence, failure, sacrifice, humiliation, doubt, frustration, you need good habits, extra hours, isolation, especially these day and age, and showing up when you don't feel like it. All those things are the things that we sort of see, but sometimes we don't. We know that you're going to put that effort in. And that visible success is based on all that struggle that you're going to have over the next 2 years. Being organised is critical, but we have faith in you and we know that you can do it. Okay, so I would lead now on to questions, but obviously it's a bit strange doing it on a pre-recorded section. So if you have any questions, please email me either at my email address or curriculum@smgs.newsouthwales.edu.au, and then my door's always open. So please come and see me if you are struggling to decide what you want to do in year 11 and 12 next year. With that, I'll leave it there. Thank you for listening, and hopefully that's been very enlightening for you. You've hopefully answered some of the questions that you might have had. Again, please come and see me if there are questions that are still not answered for you.